two, one. Hello guys, how are you? It's Pete, and I'm going to take an opportunity here to go over what I think are the most important aspects of the IEP for all teachers to be made aware of. Trying to make everybody not be afraid of the IEP. Let's use this document so that way you can be better, you can be more empowered to assist any special education child. So here we have a fake IEP on a child named David Test, and David Test is going to make it in life because he has a wonderful case manager. Look at that guy. Alright, so the first page here is IEP participants. This should look very familiar to anyone who's ever participated in an IEP meeting. It's the signature page, the notes that you participated in the IEP meeting held on the child. Okay, moving down. Personal information. It's going to give you some demographic information. I have found through looking at many IEPs that Infinite Campus is much more accurate with respect to addresses and phone numbers. But what you will be able to find on this section is the primary disability, and this is the part of the IEP which will list what makes this child eligible for special education. So David here is auditorily impaired. 90% of the kids are specific learning disabled. You may see kids that are OHI, which stands for other health impaired. Most common is a diagnosis of ADHD. Another common one is emotionally disturbed. So for any disability, you will see it listed here. Next part will show you when the start and end date of the IEP is, and when the next reevaluation was, when the eligibility was taken place. Next section is the Statement of Special Education Services. Alright, so this is the part where it's going to tell you what are the special education classes that the child is going to take. So David here is taking a language arts class, and it's in a resource room, and it'll always show you the frequency and the duration. Other things you'll see in this section could be self-contained, whether you're in a self-contained cognitively impaired classroom, behavioral disabilities classroom, or learning disabled classroom. You may also see in-class support in this section as well. Next section is related services. This will show you what the related services the child's taking. If it's blank, then that means the child does not have any related services. The most common ones are speech and language services and counseling services. David here gets occupational therapy, and again I'll show you the begin date and end date, the frequency, where it's taken place, the duration, and the group size. Next section is called the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. It's also called the PLAF. It's an ugly word, but it's very valuable. Here it's going to show you all the assessments that were taking place and who did it and on what dates. It'll also show you the child's interests and preferences and parental input used to develop the IEP. This is a really good section. It's often missed. It will show any teacher what the child's hobbies and interests are. So David here really likes sports, especially basketball and football. So if you have a brand new child to you, say in September, and you read this IEP to help establish rapport, you can ask them how the Eagles are going to do, or the Cowboys, or how the Sixers are going to do this year. It'll also show you what the parents' concerns were at the previous IEP meeting. And it looks like these parents are very concerned about the tensions in ACIs, and there is a report of David being bullied at times. Again, a really easy section to miss, but very valuable. Okay. This section will be will look familiar probably to most people. This is where you're giving all the data, what you know about the child, and you'll see regular education teacher observations, special education teacher observations. You might see related service observations. You'll see the previous psychological assessment giving you a brief summary of the child's cognitive abilities. You'll see a summary of academic assessments done, and it'll give you an idea of the child's reading ability and the child's mathematic ability. It'll show you whatever state testing that the child took and whether they were partially proficient or proficient in the area of language arts and math. It'll also show you any physical or health status. Most common things here would be ADHD, could be asthma, could be needing glasses, needing preferential seating. Should give you an overview of the attendance of the child, overview of the behavioral social characteristics, their adaptive behavior, which is a fancy term to say how a child copes with changes in their environment, and then their learning style, which could say whether the child's more of an auditory learner, a hands-on learner, or a visual learner. And it also depict down here how the child's disability affects their involvement in your class. So they may have difficult time maintaining general pace or reading, grade level materials, or sustaining focus. Again, this is everybody should be fairly familiar with this section. It is valuable because it will give you everything that we know about a child in a condensed, summarized form. Okay, next section that's very important and also could be commonly missed is the behavior intervention section. All right, child study team can be a very confusing thing. Not every single child will have a behavior intervention plan. So this could be something as you are going through your IEPs of your children that you might miss. Kids who don't have a behavior intervention plan, I think it'll just be left blank, or there just won't be anything under this section. But for those who do, this is very important information to have. It will show what the target behavior is. It'll say what the prior interventions were, and a description of what positive supports or interventions we are asking every teacher to be not only be made aware of, but to follow. Describe data collection for how long these interventions are going to take place, when and if they'll be terminated. It'll show the parental involvement and any additional information, which could include summaries of the psychological assessment or psychiatric assessment or anything else. Moving down to modifications. So this is the section where every teacher is warranted to follow these and provide these within the classroom setting. So let's pick on the math teacher. So all of these accommodations are provided to the child. It will help them maintain a level of success within your classroom. And again, best thing I can remind you of is, as I consult with all teachers of Lakeside and how difficult it can be to implement these interventions, keep in mind that the child is handicapped and needs your assistance. Following these will help not only you reach the child, but have the child feel much more comfortable within your general education or resource room setting. But these are the accommodations that we ask every teacher to do. And as you see, they are broken up by curriculum. So here's the math ones. Here's the science ones. Sometimes they might be exactly the same. Sometimes they are different. So no matter what your class is, please be made aware and follow these modifications for the children. Next section, supplementary aids and services. So these are additional things that the child may need. Most common one is assistive technology. So if you ever seen anybody with an iPod or an iPad or use of a calculator, these things will be placed in this section. It is a very common thing to just miss. So please be made aware of this section right here. Supports for school personnel. This section will typically say something like consultation strategy planning with the LDTC or the school psychologist or the social worker. Main thing from this is ask the child study team to help. If you have a question about an IEP, please ask it. That's what we're there for, to do, to help you feel empowered and understand the child better, because that's what the IEP document is. It's a bridge. It's supposed to help you communicate to the child and reach the child in a potentially a very difficult area, such as the academic classroom setting. But for supports for school personnel, reach out to us. If you have questions, please ask them. Last section I'm going to go over, and important, is the participation in district-wide and statewide assessment program. So commonly at Lakeside, New Jersey Ask, this will show exactly what the accommodations are of the child. Now here's a real biggie. If the child is entitled to the accommodations for the New Jersey Ask, they are also entitled to the accommodations for your teacher-made tests or quizzes. So let's pick on a language arts teacher. Let's say David here is in an in-class support classroom for language arts. And for the New Jersey Ask test, David is allowed to have the directions read out loud to him. If you are a language arts teacher and you're just read Sounder, and now you're going over you're giving a teacher-made test to all of the kids, including David, David is entitled to have the directions read out loud to him in order to participate in the Sounder assessment. I think those are the most important areas. Again, in summary, the IEP, don't be afraid of it. Use it. It is there. It's got a lot of data in it. Being blind to it is not only illegal, but it's just not going to help you out, and it could make the child's life that much more difficult. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.